Today's scenario is scenario number 7 from the SR 2015 pack, Outflank. Has two 12-inch diameter zones along the center line. There's no kill box. Each player receives 1 control point for controlling a zone and 2 control points for dominating a zone, for a total of 3 points available in a turn. The first to 5 wins.
Hey everybody, this is Solus. For this game, I'm going up against Cryx, and looking over his list, I feel that my Lilith list matches up a little bit better. Apollonia can do some work against Cryx. The Blight Wasps will be very handy for jamming either of his lists, really. The main reason I took Lilith as opposed to Apollonia was the fact that one of his lists had Black Banes in it, and the Apollonia list doesn't have that many magical attacks or magic weapons. I can hand it out with the Naga, but it costs Fury, and it's not terribly efficient. So I went with Lilith. My Lilith 2 list is fairly standard. Double Ravagore, Naga, and a Shredder, along with the Succubus. I also added in Zuriel. I sort of tweaked my list a little bit. I was running an Angelius instead of Zuriel, but I just got him painted up, and I want to see how well he does. The rest of my list is filled out with a Bolt Thrower, Swamp Gobbers, 2 Shepherds for my Fury management, along with a Forsaken, 2 Deathstalkers, as well as a Feralgeist. For my objective, I took Arcane Wonder, because she has 3 upkeep spells, and being able to cast any of those for either 1 or 2 Fury as opposed to 2 or 3 Fury is really helpful. As well as with Zuriel's Animus on her, she can throw out, for example, a Pincushion, basically fully boosted for 2 Fury as opposed to the 3 or 4 that it would normally cost me.
Greetings, this is Iron Lich W, and this week is round 2 of the Advanced Maneuvers Steamroller. I got paired up against Solus and his Legion army. Looking at his list, I knew right off the bat that I was going to see E-Lylyth. With my opponent playing E-Abby last week, I figured he'd probably want to keep his list selection open, and therefore I decided to go with the Satyxis the Hellbringer, because I feel he's the better Hordes matchup of the 2 lists that I had in this particular case. I like this list against Legion because it has Deathjack and Reaper, who have pretty good threat ranges, and Asphyxious' feat would help me gain soul tokens, and if my opponent were the Force inside of it, I get souls as well as healing for each time he forced or cast a spell.
So I chose to go first after winning the die roll for deployment. Honestly, it doesn't matter really what side of the table I'm on, and Lilith, at least this version of Lilith, really likes to go first to set up board presence and set up kill zones. I'm fairly symmetrical deployment. I have a Ravagore on either side of Lilith, who is basically front and center. I tuck Zuriel in next to Lilith, and then a Bolt Thrower on the other side, and the Naga off on my left flank. Feralgeist goes on my left flank as well. It's fast enough that I can get to where I need it to go, so I'm not terribly worried about it at this point. I set up my Fury management. Forsaken goes off on the left flank. It's basically going to be there to help out the Naga. And then a Shredder goes behind Lilith, as well as the Succubus. And the Shepherds go along with their attendant Ravagores.
I started deploying with the Cryx army by putting Asphyxious and Vociferon in the middle. I want Asphyxious to take advantage of that near obstacle. I put the Reaper on the left flank so he can go after that left zone, with the Bane Riders on the right flank to go after the right zone. Because his Cloud is not going to help Asphyxious, I end up putting Gorman on the left side to help the Reaper with his Black Oil and Acid Bomb. And I put the Withershadow Combine in the center behind Asphyxious.
For my advanced deployment, I basically put a Deathstalker on either flank. They're not going to do a whole lot of work this game. They're more just to be annoying and, sit in a zone and contest it for me.
For advanced deployment, I put Cankerworm near the left side of the board. I'm going to try and use him as a threat early, with the Satyxis Raiders in the middle in order to have them threaten both flanks, because once I see what my opponent does in terms of movement, I'll have them run to the weaker side, or the side that I want to try and attack from. Then I go ahead and set up Deathjack on the left side, as I think Deathjack's going to go run up the middle.
So my turn 1, like I said during deployment, I mainly just want to get as far up the table as I can and try and block off as much of his movement as I can. So I just run the Feralgeist into contest a zone, and then my Ravagore walks up and animuses and fires off a shot towards the middle Satyxis Raider. I don't really expect it to scatter and hit, but if it does, it'd be neat. I'm mainly just trying to block off his avenues of movement. We're just trying to figure out if the Scather actually hit that one raider. If it did, she'd be on fire, but we figured out that it actually didn't. So my second Ravagore advances and basically does the same thing. It pops its animus and fires a shot towards the middle raider. Again, really not expecting it to drift and hit, although if it did, it'd be neat. I'm mainly just trying to block off the center of the board so that he can't run straight down my throat. One Deathstalker goes into the trench, and the other Deathstalker goes ahead and runs and toes up on the hill. Zuriel goes ahead, runs, and gets into the forest. I go ahead and just advance with my my Naga. It's not really a frontline beast, and having it available for an Animus if necessary is good. Plus, I don't really need it to run as far as it can. So the Bolt Thrower goes ahead, runs into the woods. The Shredder advances and puts Tenacity on the Bolt Thrower. Lilith goes up and casts Shadow Pack. He doesn't have terribly many spells, and I don't feel like he can hit me this turn or in his coming turn. But it's always good just to make sure. My Shepherds go. They fix my Fury, and my Succubus walks up and puts Tenacity on Lilith. Again, it's not so much that I think he can hit me this turn, it's more, I just want to make sure. And my last Shepherd walks up and stands next to her Ravagore.
Cryx turn 1. I begin by allocating a point of focus to the Reaper, and then determining if I really want to give focus to anybody else. I know that I get Cankerworm up there pretty far, pretty early, but I decided to hold back and wait for turn 2. So I start by activating the Satyxis Raider Captain, and then she advances up to the linear obstacle and does Desperate Pace on the ladies. Well, the Raiders in this case. Then I activate the Raiders and have them run. I run the first one to engage my opponent's Stalker, I think is what they're called, so he doesn't shoot. Then I have the rest run and spread out, with my opponent having 2 Scather templates right in front of the larger mass of Raiders. It becomes troublesome to maneuver and get them out of the way. If I'm feeling with their positioning, if my opponent moves up, I will get the jump on his army. And since I went second, the scoring will start on my turn. And one of the troubles I have with the Raiders in this particular list, since it doesn't have my objective in it, is I have to keep in mind to keep them away from Deathjack so his Abomination doesn't cause them to break on their own. One thing that I realized during the actual first turn is that Gorman is immune to both fire damage and corrosion, so I could have placed him much better and had him run up the center since most of the stuff is fire damage. And then I continue by activating Asphyxious, have him move up. I'm debating, I know I need to focus on him, I'm debating what I want to do, but I end up putting Ashen Veil on the Raiders, which gives them concealment, and within 2 inches, -2 to attack rolls. And I want to keep the rest of the focus on Asphyxious because I know he needs the armor. Then I activate and run Vociferon. And Cankerworm, I have him move up, and since he ends his activation in Asphyxious control area, his affinity allows him to make an additional move. So I move him back so he toes the hill. I run Gorman up, then I activate the Bane Riders and have them run. I'm thinking to myself, I don't want the Bane Riders to be a big target, so my opponent goes after them, so I put them pretty much in the center of the board, but not too close to Asphyxious because I do not want splash damage getting caught on Asphyxious, especially if it catches him on fire. Once the Bane Riders are done, I activate Deathjack and have him run up slightly. I want to keep him on the hill, but I know I want to essentially alpha strike him if my opponent moves further. Once Deathjack is done, activate the Reaper, have him run up into the center, as he's going to drag something out of the forest, or he's going to be the first guy to run in there. Then I activate the Withershadow Combine and have them run up.
So going into turn 2, it was very lucky that I managed to block off the center of the board. Otherwise, I'd have Satyxis Raiders pretty much jamming the hell out of me, and that would be really bad. The fact that I forced him to basically flank hard around to my left flank was actually really fortunate. He ran forward really aggressively, which I kind of feel is the right thing to do in this situation. You kind of know that he's going to get shot at and probably lose a lot of things this turn. But if he can keep his heavy hitters alive, then I think he'd be in a really good position. So I have a couple of options. I can try for the assassination this turn, or I can try and cripple Deathjack and hopefully wipe out a lot of the Raiders, and maybe put a dent into the Bane Riders. I kind of feel like at this point trying for the assassination is the better option, even though if it fails, then I'm in a really bad position. So I start my turn, I leech my Fury, and I upkeep Shadow Pact for free with the Succubus. Again, not necessarily because it's terribly useful at this point, but you know, it's a free ability, it's a free upkeep, so you might as well. She walks up and puts the Ravagore's Animus on the Ravagore. So I'm measuring my control area a lot. I'm just trying to figure out my threat ranges. I feel like if I can manage to get up there and stick a pincushion on Gaspy, the assassination is somewhere around like 80 to 85%. So I kind of feel like I have to try it at this point. Go ahead, and Lilith goes. She feats, puts Zuriel's Animus on herself, and then starts shooting at Raiders. So I go ahead, kill 2 of them, Swift Hunter up, and then looking at my threat ranges, I feel like I need to get a little bit farther up. So I go ahead, kill that Raider, I Swift Hunter up, and then boost a pincushion at Gaspy. With the Arcane extension, it's a 15-inch threat range on the spell, so I do have the range. I managed to hit, and then I take my Snapfire, kill the other Raider, and then Swift Hunter back. I decide not to buy another shot, because if this goes badly, I feel like sitting on a transfer is better than not. So, I'm trying to decide if the Ravagore can actually stand still and aim. It's got an 18-inch threat range under the feet, but I feel like I'd rather be safe than sorry. And it turns out that I probably could have stood still and aimed, but I boost my first shot and managed to miss. You know, figuring roll 4 dice, drop the lowest, and you know, I should be able to hit a 10, but I don't. So I boost the second shot. That one manages to hit, so I boost the damage. And Gaspy's on fire, which is nice. And at dice -6, I get a fairly decent hit in. So I need to get Zuriel out of the way a little bit, so I just have him advance. He puts his Animus on himself, and then goes ahead and starts shooting at the Bane Riders. So it's only range 8 spray, so I only managed to hit the one. I set him on fire, and then just managed to kill him. I actually forget about the feet shot, so I buy a shot at the other Bane Rider. Managed to hit him and do a couple of points, but I don't kill him. But he is on fire, so that's always helpful. So the other Ravagore advances, boost a shot. I don't Animus because Gaspy's already on fire. Managed to miss again, and the scatter, it doesn't scatter off of him. It's only a POW 8, he's armor 21, it's like dice -13, but I've got the Fury, so I might as well use it. I boost the damage roll and managed to put 3 points of fury of damage onto him, which is, you know, always nice. I boost my second shot from the feet, managed to hit him, and then I boost damage, and managed to kill him. So a fairly quick game. I think if I hadn't gone for the assassination there, I would have been in a lot of trouble, but thankfully it actually worked, and I managed to assassinate Gaspy.